Hi everyone, this is Fenley, designer here at the Bead Flora studio. This is part 2 of 3 videos on how to make French beaded small sunflowers. If you're watching this video, then I'm going to assume that you know the basic techniques for making French beaded flowers. If you are a beginner and would like to start making beaded flowers, I have some beginner projects on my channel. You can also check out the Learn section of my website for PDFs and videos. Last week, I showed you my design process and also went over all the techniques that can be used to make beaded sunflowers. In this video, I will be making these petals using 2 techniques. I will show you the technique that I developed called the Continuous Split Basic and Lauren Harpster's Continuous Basic Frame Technique. I have Lauren's permission to do a demo on her technique, and she may do a reply video sometime in the future. As far as we know, we are the only 2 designers actively designing flowers, jewelry, and accessories using continuous basic techniques. First, I'm going to show you how to make sunflower A by making 2 components and then combining them together using the continuous split basic technique. And I already have some beads already strung on wire here. The pattern calls for a 15-inch top basic wire. So first we're going to measure out the basic wire here. It's 15 inches. And then it is a 3 bead basic. So count 3 beads. And then it is a split basic technique. So we're going to put some beads in the basic loop. So we're going to do 6 beads in the basic loop. Make the basic loop to be about 3 inches or so. From the twisted wire to the loop to be about 3 inches. And leave the twisted wire to be about 1/2 inch. So now we have a 3 bead basic with a 15-inch top basic wire, 1/2 inch twisted wire, and 6 beads in the basic loop. So to manage this long basic wire, so all we're going to do is to wind it up. And I'm just going to pinch it down like this so that it stays in place. What you can also do is to use a paper clip and clip everything together. But you know me, I like to live on the edge and possibly have all these wires all tangled up on me. But be smart, use a paper clip. The pattern calls for pointed tops and pointed bottoms with 5 rows each. Now normally I would finish the petal at the base of the petal, but because a sunflower has a bigger center, I'm going to leave this extra space on the twisted wire and I'm going to make that part of the petal. Well, not exactly part of the petal, but just to give it extra space so that there is room to put the center in. So twist the working wire down, or wrap the working wire down along the twisted wire here. So that it's back on the right hand side. So now turn the petal around. Bend the top basic wire down along the back of the petal. Turn it back to the front. Take the top basic wire, bring it over the base of the petal, and back to the right-hand side. And now bring it down along the twisted wire so that it meets the working wire. Let's move this out of the way. Now we're going to twist the working wire and the top wire together to form a new twisted wire right next to the first one, so that we can make another petal right next to the first one. And the way to determine the length of the twisted wire that you need is by looking at the back of the twisted wire of the first petal. You want to measure from the end of the bead here down to the end of the twisted wire here. And that is about 1/2 inch here. So let's twist. Okay, and good. Now let's undo this top basic wire. And string 3 beads on to the top basic wire. Reknot it. Recoil the top wire just so that you have enough room to wrap, so that stays out of your way. Now we are ready to make the next petal right next to the first one. And again, unwind the top basic wire. And it gets easier and easier as you make more petals, because then the wire gets shorter and shorter. Let's put on 3 more beads on here. I know you're thinking that I'm ridiculous for using a bead spinner to string 3 beads on. Okay, I strung the beads on too early. We need to bend this down along the back first and wrap it around. And then make a new twisted wire here. For this pattern, I'm going to have 7 petals total, so that means that I'm going to end with 5 petals on the top basic wire. So let's bend this down along the back and bring it around the twisted wire. So now the top basic wire is one of the ending tail wires. And now we're going to make the split basic. So split the beads so that there are 2 on each side. Cut along the top. Not the top here. Now I need to reposition the working wire here so that it is next to the outer wire here. So in order to do that, we're going to wrap it around in between the first 2 petals. And then wrap it around in between the next 2 petals. And then again, the next 2 petals, until that it is on the right-hand side next to the outer wire. And now we can twist these two wires together to form a new twisted wire. Now we're going to twist these two wires together and make another twisted wire. So now that we have all 7 petals made, let's cut another tail off of the spool. We're just going to cut the top of the last 2 petals and finish it like we would normally. Now let's take a moment and talk about the wire going down along the petal there. If you don't mind it, you can keep it there. But if you don't like it, I'll show you how to get rid of it. Okay, so pull the wire up a little bit. So then you can make your cut. Bend it down. Now we have this little wire here. So all we need to do is just to wrap it around the base of the petal, just a couple of times. And it will be secure. Two, 3 times, whatever you're comfortable with. And then take your pliers and then tuck the little bit in. For smaller flowers, I don't mind the wires going down the back, but for bigger flowers, I do like to have it so that they're all the same and finished as they would normally. Now I have 2 sections of these petals, one with 6 petals and one with 7 petals, and I'm going to just twist the 2 wires together so that it becomes one large component. Now this is one way of making the petals. Now let's look at these samples of Sunflower A that I made. This is the one where I made with 2 sections. So you can see that there are 4 ending tail wires. And then this one, I made all on one continuous wire. So there is only 2 ending bottom tail wires. And the only difference with this one is that I had a 30-inch top basic wire to start instead of the 15, and I had 11 petals on the basic wire and the 2 on the split basic wire. So depending on what you are most comfortable with, you can do it in sections, or you can make it all on one continuous wire. Next, I'm going to show you Sunflower B using Lauren Harpster's continuous basic frame technique. Leave a 3-inch tail, just eyeball it. And again, we will do a 3 bead basic. And the basis for Lauren's technique is to have the twisted wire on the top. And so that's why with her technique, you will get even number of rows versus the odd number of rows like you would normally. Do about 1 inch of twisted wire. So now this is the twisted wire here, and this would be the bottom wire. Now feed some beads on, and we will do, again, pointed tops and pointed bottoms. And for this pattern, we will do 6 rows. So now we have one petal made, and now normally you would end at the base here and start a new petal right next to the first one. But because this is a sunflower and we're going to need that extra space, I'm going to twist down just a little bit here. I want the total twisted wire to be about 3/4 of an inch. That looks about good. Now we're going to make another twisted wire on here. So let's measure 3/4 of an inch here. Mark that spot. Feed the beads on and hold on to the beads on this spot. And that's where you want to start your new twisted wire. I'm going to twist this here so like it gets not in my way. With the second petal here, the base here, it's not matching this one. So sometimes when you measure, you can still be off by a little bit. And what you can do is to pull the working wire down until it matches up. A lot of the times it will work, but if there is too much of a difference, all the pulling won't work. If you have too much wire or not enough wire, if it's shorter, then it probably won't work. But if it's just a little bit, by pulling it, you will have the two petals match up right here. Okay. Another trick that you can do is to take the working wire here and bend it up along the back. Hold on to the wire here, right below the first bead on the basic row. Put on your 3 beads here. Hold on to this section and then make another twisted wire. This tail wire is getting in my way. Okay. Now I'm going to keep going until I have 12 petals. I have all 12 of the petals done, so let's cut another tail off the spool here. And to finish the tops, we're just going to cut these off, leaving a little nub here, and then fold the wire back just like you would normally when you're making the regular basic frame petals. So let's do all of that. All of them. A little assembly line. You don't want to do them one at a time because I've learned that mistake and scratched myself as I'm beading, and that wasn't fun. So you definitely want to keep these twisted wires uncut until the very end. Okay. So with these, you definitely do need to be careful and not hurt yourself, because it's easier to hurt yourself with the cut twisted wires. I had band-aids on my fingers for a couple days. But that's only because I cut them as I was making the petals. I was too anxious to see how the petals look like. Missing one. Right, so let's take these twisted wires and twist them together. Just slightly at the base, and I'm just going to reposition one of my tail wires here, so that there is a tail wire on either side. So now we have Sunflower B, made with Lauren Harpster's continuous basic frame technique. Next week, I will show you how to make the center, sepals, leaves, and assembly. I hope I have convinced you to give these new techniques a try. If you make this or any of my designs, I would love to see them. Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or my website at beadflora.com. If you haven't already, join Lauren's in my new Facebook group. I will put a link in the description below. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!